From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang in review. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday urged the Department of National Defense, or DND, and the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, to bring back the allocation of its men in order to effectively respond to current geopolitical challenges, especially in the future. In his speech during the 67th founding anniversary of the Naval Special Operations Command, or NAVSOCOM, at the Naval Base Heracleo Alano in Sangley Point, Cavite Province, the President invited the NAVSOCOM to cooperate with other countries who also wants to maintain peace, freedom of navigation, and adhere to the rule of law. As the AFP's Commander-in-Chief, President Marcos made an assurance that the administration is committed to strengthen the NAVSOCOM's capabilities through the acquisitions under the revised AFP modernization program. The administration will also support the unit in implementing programs that enhance knowledge and skills of personnel, as well as ensure the welfare and the well-being of their families. Let's listen to the speech of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Thank you to our Secretary Popong Felix. Please take your seats as you horizontal. Flag Officer in Command, Vice Admiral Toribio Adachi Jr. Naval Operations Commander, Dwight Stephen Dulunuan. Department of National Defense, Yusek Irineo Espino. Another old comrade from the old days. Cavite City Mayor, Denver Chua. The officers, enlisted personnel, the awardees, and members of the NAVSOCOM, fellow workers in government, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am one with the valiant men and women of the Naval Special Operations Command in celebrating your 67th founding anniversary. I congratulate all the officers and members of the NAVSOCOM for closing yet another meaningful chapter in your long and decorated history. As an elite unit of the Philippine Navy, the extensive counter-terrorism training and operations that you have conducted against terrorist groups and other lawless elements, including rescue missions that have greatly supported the AFP's internal security efforts, especially in southern Philippines. NAVSOCOM has also contributed to our efforts to curb smuggling, other illegal activities at sea, so we can watch over the vast littoral area that needs to be covered. More impressive still, through it all, you have embodied grit, fortitude, and courage in ensuring peace, order, and progress in the country. For your commitment to serve and to safeguard the Filipino people, I express my deep and heartfelt gratitude. As we move now from focusing on ensuring internal security for the country, we now have to bolster the country's external defenses. And I exhort the DND and the AFP to maximize and strategically review the deployment of our forces to ensure that their strategies remain responsive to the current and future geopolitical realities. Let us also continue harnessing the skills of our specialized units in preparing for all contingencies. with the NAVSOCOM, with its expertise in sea, air, and land, or SEAL operations, must be utilized to support naval defense and enhance maritime security. I still remember our operators, pero hindi pa SEAL noon, UOU pa lang noon. They were the members of the Underwater Operations Unit na sumasama sa amin kapag kami lumalakad. And I have met many of them, nag-uusap kami ng matagal, and I very well understand the high standards that are set by the then UOU, now SEAL, now NAVSOCOM, for the elite operators of NAVSOCOM to be able to fulfill their mission. I also enjoin the Navy to strengthen the unit's capabilities by partnering with forces from like-minded states to uphold our shared commitment to freedom of navigation, peace and stability, and the rule of law. To this end, allow me to recognize our awardees for their excellent performance and significant contribution to the Navy and to the country. I urge you to continue honing your skills and serve as exemplars, not just as NAVSOCOM personnel, but as public servants. Rest assured that this administration remains firm in its commitment to strengthen NAVSOCOM's capabilities to the acquisition under the revised AFP modernization program. We will likewise support you in implementing programs to enhance your knowledge and skill, as well as ensure your welfare and, equally important, your family's well-being. Together, let us bring stability, peace, and prosperity in our lands and in our seas, all the while standing as a wellspring of hope to our present and our next generations. Malaki po ang papel na ginagampanan ng inyong institusyon sa pagsulong ng isang bagong Pilipinas sa ating panahon ngayon. Inaasahan ko ang inyong patuloy na pakikilahok at suporta sa adhikaing ito. Muli, binabati ko ang NAVSOCOM sa pagdiriwang ng inyong ika-67 anibersaryo. Mabuhay kayong lahat, mabuhay ang NAVSOCOM, mabuhay ang Armed Forces of the Philippines.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday announced that the Implementing Rules and Regulations, or IRR, of the Maharlika Investment Fund, or MIF, has been finalized. Senior Undersecretary Elaine Masukat and Undersecretary Rodolfo John Robert Palatao IV of the Presidential Management Staff, Undersecretary Leonardo Roy Cervantes of the Office of the Executive Secretary, Government Service Insurance System General Manager Jose Arnulfo Veloso, and Office of the Presidential Advisor for Investment and Economic Affairs Rafael D.C. Consing Jr. were present during the finalization of the IRR. Representatives from the Bureau of the Treasury, or BTR, Office of the Deputy Executive Secretary for General Administration, and Office of the Deputy Executive Secretary for Legal Affairs also witnessed the finalization. Last month, President Marcos ordered a further review of the fund's IRR. In an October 12 memorandum signed by Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin by the authority of the President, the BTR, in coordination with the Land Bank of the Philippines and the Development Bank of the Philippines, was directed to initially hold the implementation of the IRR of Maharlika pending further study thereof. Signed into law on July 18th, the MIF was established to optimize national funds by generating returns to support the government's economic goals laid out in the medium-term fiscal framework, the 8-point socio-economic agenda, and the Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028. The MIF will be used to invest in a wide range of assets, including foreign currencies, fixed income instruments, domestic and foreign corporate bonds, joint ventures, mergers and acquisitions, real estate and high-impact infrastructure projects that contribute to the attainment of sustainable development. Before leaving for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN Gulf Cooperation Council Summit in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia last month, the chief executive emphasized that the operationalization of the MIF will push through before the year ends.
Dateline Malacañang.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday directed concerned government agencies to give production support to provinces that are vulnerable to the impact of the El Niño phenomenon. The President gave the order in a sectoral meeting at Malacañang Palace in Manila on Tuesday morning in the wake of the Philippine Atmospheric Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration or PAG-ASA's report that the country is already experiencing moderate El Niño, which is expected to strengthen until the first quarter of 2024. In a palace press briefing, National Economic and Development Authority or NEDA Undersecretary Rosemary Edilion noted that some provinces in the eastern part of Luzon, the Visayas, and Mindanao are less likely to be hit by El Niño in December. Edilion said that President Marcos instructed to distribute high-yielding varieties of seeds and fertilizers, as well as ensuring proper irrigation in order to support these provinces.
So, as mentioned, inflation eased in October 2023, but even so, NEDA assures the public that the government will continue providing assistance to the most vulnerable sectors as El Niño is expected to occur in the coming months and until the first quarter of 2024. The Philippine Statistics Authority reported today that inflation in October significantly slowed down to 4.9% from 6.1% the previous month, which brings the year-to-date inflation to 6.4%. And as directed also by NEDA Secretary, that even as inflation has eased, it is crucial to continue monitoring the prices of commodities, particularly food, transportation, energy, amid global challenges such as the geopolitical uncertainties and also the El Niño. The slowdown in inflation was mainly due to lower food inflation, which registered at 7.1% in October from 10% in September. So these were the following commodities where inflation decelerated. So rice, vegetables, fish, bread and other cereal, sugar, and then meat. And rice inflation slowed down following the onset of peak harvest and also the import arrivals. We also noted a steady supply of vegetables, and this also led to a slower inflation of that commodity. Meanwhile, the country is experiencing moderate El Niño, which is expected to strengthen until the first quarter of 2024 according to the PAG-ASA. So this is expected to bring below normal rainfall across the country and may adversely impact agricultural production and also energy generation. We noted, however, that in December, there will still be a number of provinces that will be less likely to be hit by El Niño. And so in the briefing this morning, that was actually the instruction of the President to make sure that we target the production support to these provinces. At the same time, it is important to ensure that the most vulnerable sectors of the society are protected and provided assistance, especially while food prices remain high amid the expected El Niño. So in line with this, the DSWD is currently implementing the pilot run of the food stamp program, which will be scaled up by mid-2024. And the Economic Development Group is also recommending the extension of the reduced tariff rates for the most favored nation under Executive Order Number 10, Series of 2022, until the end of 2024, subject to a mid-year review. While we are providing short-term measures to address these effects of inflation through subsidies and importation, we also need to address the long-standing challenges in agriculture and food production and help our local farmers boost their productivity and resilience through investment in irrigation, R&D, post-harvest facilities, and others.
NEDA Undersecretary Rosemary Edilion.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippines Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, on Tuesday said that President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. will persuade his fellow Asia-Pacific leaders to step up the region's food, energy, health, and digital partnerships. This, as DFA Undersecretary Charles Jose confirmed the President's participation in the 30th Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, Leaders Meeting in San Francisco, California, in the United States from the 15th to the 17th of November. In a pre-departure briefing with Palace reporters, Jose said the chief executive would push for financing a just, sustainable, and affordable energy transition through partnerships with the business sector. Jose said President Marcos would also call for deeper cooperation on health to modernize healthcare systems and protect the welfare of medical professionals, taking into consideration the lessons learned from the COVID-19 pandemic.
The President is attending this year's 30th APEC Economic Leaders Meeting, which will be held on November 15, 16, and 17 in San Francisco, California, USA. The APEC Leaders Meeting is the culmination of the year-long chairmanship and hosting by the United States of APEC in 2023. As we all know, the Philippines is a founding member of APEC in 1989. APEC is important to the Philippines because it is the primary forum for our engagement with the other economies in the Asia-Pacific region. 11 of our top 15 trading partners are APEC members. APEC economies account for 85% of our total exports and imports and about 56% of the foreign direct investments that enter the Philippines. This year's APEC theme is creating a resilient and sustainable future for all. Throughout the year, APEC's work focused on building sustainability, inclusivity, and resilience toward a peaceful and prosperous APEC region. There have been several successful outcomes from APEC's work in 2023, including the adoption of agreements that would advance food security, energy security, human resource development, digitalization, and supply chain resilience. This year's APEC theme aligns with the economic agenda of the administration of President Marcos Jr., the Philippine Development Plan, and the administration's 8-point socio-economic agenda envisage an economic transformation for a prosperous, inclusive, and resilient Philippines by prioritizing the creation of more quality and green jobs. Key to this economic transformation is ensuring a sustainable future for every Filipino to have a matatag, maginhawa, at panatag na buhay. This reflects the importance of cooperation and of our involvement in the APEC agenda to pursue our economic interests. This is the second time that President Marcos Jr. is participating in the APEC Economic Leaders Meeting. For this year, the President is keen to push for financing a just, sustainable, and affordable energy transition through partnerships with the business sector. He will emphasize the need to invest more on clean energy to preserve and protect the environment while ensuring that we are energy secure and sufficient. With our experience from the COVID-19 pandemic, the President wishes to push for deeper cooperation in health and modernizing health systems, and to ensure that our health professionals are recognized and provided with welfare they deserve. The President will also touch on digitalization and innovation, given that digital transformation is already upon us, and how we can best prepare our workforce and the larger human resource. Like in the previous year, the President will push for the digital participation of our MSMEs. The President will continue to push for cooperation in food security, particularly focusing on research and development, innovation, and equity and inclusivity, so as to benefit our small farmers, and in climate action, given the urgent need to be resilient to climate change. On other related activities, the President may have bilateral meetings with other leaders, but as the schedules and logistical considerations keep evolving, we are not able to confirm any at this point. As for the business community, the President will lead a Philippine economic briefing and have several meetings with top U.S. companies. He will also attend the APEC CEO Summit and the APEC Leaders Dialogue with the APEC Business Advisory Council. The President will also be meeting with our Filipino community in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Honolulu. This, in summary, will be the Philippine participation in the APEC High-Level Week later this month.
DFA Undersecretary Charles Jose.
Dateline Malacañang.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday joined the nation in observing the 10th Yolanda commemoration anniversary in Tacloban City, Leyte Province. The commemoration started with a mass that was attended by local and national government officials as well as international delegates, including Chinese Ambassador to the Philippines Wang Xilian. In his message, the President remembered the unprecedented help that came from various countries, from local and international non-governmental organizations or NGOs, as well as the private sector in the midst of Yolanda's wrath as it devastated Tacloban and different areas of Leyte Province. The chief executive emphasized that the Philippines owes a debt of gratitude to those who have helped and continue to help victims until they recover from the effects of Yolanda. Let's listen to the speech of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
The Excellencies and other members of the diplomatic corps who are here representing the countries who came to our aid in the depths of our difficulties after Yolanda. I know that everyone here had a part to play in the recovery, but we cannot overstate the importance of the efforts of the different countries who came to the Philippines to assist, the NGOs, the international NGOs, the local NGOs that came and helped with the rebuilding and the rehabilitation and the recovery. I remember very well how we were at a complete loss in the days following Yolanda. Where do we get relief goods? How do we bring them? How do we transport them to the people that are in need? I remember when I first arrived in Tacloban, there were 3 vehicles in the whole of Leyte that were still functioning. And these were the people who came, the NGOs, the different countries, even the private corporations who came. And they helped us in every way that they could, in both the relief, both in the rescue, and even in the rehabilitation and the rebuilding of Tacloban. And for that, they would come and they would bring all that we needed. They would bring relief goods, they would bring water, they would bring water purifiers, they would bring fuel, they would bring transportation. And we could not have survived without that. And so it is impossible to overstate how important it is to us what you did for us after Yolanda and in the years subsequent to Yolanda, where you never left us. You stayed with us and stayed with us for years until you could see that we had recovered. And for that, we owe you a depth of gratitude that we will never be able to repay. Also here is, we will introduce our now DNR Secretary, who was then with the Manila Observatory. She was, nauna po siya. She was the first, they were the first to forecast how strong Yolanda was going to become. And we could not believe the figures that she was saying, that umabot ng 370-kilometer gusts. And up to now, we have not seen that kind of weather anywhere around the world. And that is why we have now recognized that this was the onset of the worst effects of climate change. Andito rin ngayon, Senator Francis Tolentino, kailangan po natin batiin dahil MMDA siya, Metro Manila Development Authority, napakalayo po. He was far away. But the first heavy equipment that arrived in Tacloban was the MMDA heavy equipment. Nauna pa sila sa lahat ng ibang government agencies. Kaya't karapat-dapat na nandito siya. Nakasama natin na tumutulong dito. Andito rin si then Secretary Mark Villar na pinagpatuloy nung panahon ng nakaraang administrasyon, no siyang Secretary ng Department of Public Works, ay siya ay nagpatuloy ng reconstruction at ginawa niyang prioridad. Kaya't kami na tiga rito ay muling nagpapasalamat sa inyo. And of course, ang ating Housing Secretary na naging kasama, nandito rin si Job Bentay ng NHA. Lahat sila ay tumutulong para pagandahin dahil yung unang ginawang reconstruction ng mga bahay ay hindi pumasa kay Mayor Alfred. At sabi niya, hindi po pwedeng tirahan ito. Kaya't binalikan po natin. We went back and we made sure that the facilities that were being created are now suitable for the families that lost their homes. And that is why they continue the recovery, the rehabilitation, the rebuilding still continues. Nandito rin po ang ating Secretary ng DILG, Secretary Benhur Abalos, dahil alam nyo, yung pinaghirapan po natin, the suffering that we went through during Yolanda will not go to naught because we have shown the rest of the country and the rest of the world what needs to be done. The suffering that we went through is now a bellwether of what the world needs to face when we talk about climate change. Kaya po, ito po ang naging naranasan natin dito sa Western Visayas, hindi lamang po Tacloban, hindi lamang Leyte, pati Samar Island, ay malakas ang tama hanggang Ormoc. Tinamaan ng Yolanda. Lahat yan, kahirapan na dinaanan natin, marami tayong naituro sa buong Pilipinas at sa buong mundo para kaya natin harapin ang mga nagiging problema dahil nga sa ating climate change. At nung panahon na yon, si Speaker Romualdez ay majority floor leader pa lang, hindi pa siya speaker noon. At nandito kami, ako naiwan dito, senador ko noon, naiwan ako dito sa Tacloban, doon ako nakakamping doon sa bahay ni Congressman Martin. At siya naman, sinabi ko sa kanya, magpaiwan ka dyan sa Maynila para lahat ng pangangailangan namin dito sa Tacloban, lahat ng pangangailangan dito hanggang Giwan, hanggang lahat ng Samar, lalong-lalo na sa pag-release ng mga emergency funds, sa kanya ko pinapasa. At yun naman ang kanyang linalakad, kaya narelisan tayo kaagad ng 130 billion na binigay. Yun ang unang pumasok na pondo para makapagbigay tayo. Tapos nandiyan po yung ating mga tumulong at nung medyo nasalba na natin lahat ng mga survivor at nakuha na natin, ay nandiyan naman po yung ibang NGO nagsimula ng Cash for Work program para naman linisin na ang mga gusali, linisin na ang mga nagkalat. At ito po ay lahat ng ating mga kaibigan ay hindi na natin sinasabing kaibigan na lang, kung hindi ito po ay ating mga naging kapatid na dahil sa lalim ng pinagsamahan natin at hindi po tayo iniwanan hanggang nakita nila tapos na ang trabaho nila dito sa atin sa Western Visayas, sa Tacloban, sa Leyte. 10 years have gone by, and yet the memory of this tragedy remains indelible in our hearts and in our thoughts. The devastation we suffered included over 6,000 lives lost, over 28,000 injured, over 1,000 missing, and over 3 million families affected. And to this day, we still do not know the true scope of our loss, because we grieve and we mourn those of our dead. But we must always keep a special place in our hearts for those who we lost, who are uncounted, who are unrecorded. So that up to now, we say 6,000 casualties. We do not know that for sure. We are certain that there were more, but for whatever reason, their deaths have not been recorded. So even if that is the case, let them not be unremembered. So when we grieve and when we mourn for our dead, keep a special place in your heart for those who have not been known to have gone. But we know in our hearts, we know the loss that we feel. Let us always pray for them. To the survivors who continue to move forward, we salute your indomitable spirit and character. As we commemorate this 10th year of Yolanda, let us continue to offer our prayers for our dearly departed, even as we find our own path towards peace, towards healing, towards recovery. And who could ever forget the extraordinary outpouring of love, of help and compassion that came from all over the country and from all over the world. The aid that came from all directions, the volunteerism, the heroism that overflowed in the affected areas, specifically in the rehabilitation of Tacloban. Indeed, what we saw back then was the spirit of bayanihan in its truest form, moving without prompting, without hindrance, and without ceasing. And much to our surprise, we saw that Filipino bayanihan spirit coming from our friends from all other lands. So to all the national leaders, all the local leaders, then and now, the private sector, the international, local organizations, volunteers, donors, accept our eternal gratitude. But the work is not done. The work is not done. There are still many who continue to await our assistance. So we have engaged the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development and the National Housing Authority to accelerate the provision of housing units and land titles to our beneficiaries. And I also urge the Yolanda response clusters to work closely with concerned local governments to address the lingering issues of the different affected communities. Let us continue to work hard so that we can provide them with the tools and the resources to rebuild their lives. At this point, let me, of course, acknowledge the local government of Tacloban City for rising above this challenge and working hard to strengthen the locality's disaster resiliency. Ang inyong mayor po ay he has become now the poster boy of climate resilience, not only in the Philippines, but around the world. Kapag meron silang hinahanap na sino ang expert tungkol sa mga nagiging problema na dinudulot ng climate change, si Mayor Alfred Romualdez po ang hinahanap kung saan-saan. Kaya't nakilala na ang Tacloban sa inyong tibay, sa inyong tapang, sa inyong galing, sa inyong sipag, at sa inyong pagmamahal. I recognize that your disaster risk reduction and the management efforts to the creation of contingency, public service, and the disaster response plan both at the barangay and city levels, are now in place. Your endeavors to establish emergency evacuation SOPs and emergency response teams are noteworthy and serve as examples for other local governments around the country. Equally important is your collective action to protect and rehabilitate your communities through reforestation, river embankment and stabilization, and other environmental conservation programs. It is also crucial to be reminded that climate change will keep exacerbating the impact of natural disasters. As I have said, we must make climate change a vital component of our national policies. We must make sure that we apply our knowledge on climate change to every plan, to every decision and initiative, so we can build stronger and more resilient communities. Be assured that the government is always striving to ensure that such tragedies of this magnitude will be avoided and will be adapted to. We continue to build disaster-resilient evacuation centers and emergency operation centers. We are also putting into place more centralized and efficient early warning systems, incident command systems, and disaster response strategies. The development and deployment of new technologies, such as GeoRisk PH and Plan Smart, along with the continuous conduct of information and education campaigns, simulation drills are also aimed to save lives. I therefore call on our citizens to partner with us in bolstering our country's disaster preparedness, recovery, and resiliency so that we can overcome whatever storms we will face. It is an opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and better as we a people and we as a country. So we mark the 10th year of Typhoon Yolanda. Let us also celebrate the unparalleled spirit of the Waray and of the Filipino. Let us take pride in the fact that we triumphed over this calamity through our innate bayanihan, which inspired people all over the world. Let us envision, let us dream, let us work towards building a better nation, isang bagong Pilipinas, in honor of those who have passed on and for the benefit of our future generations.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday led the launching of the Visayas leg of the Handa Pilipinas, or in English, Ready Philippines, in Tacloban City, Leyte Province, to showcase the administration's efforts in disaster risk reduction and management initiatives. In his speech, the President emphasized the importance of remembering the experiences and knowledge that was left behind by Super Typhoon Yolanda 10 years ago. The tragedy, the chief executive added, has proven the importance of disaster risk reduction and management in the country. President Marcos said this also proved the importance, the role the Department of Science and Technology, or DOST, plays in utilizing new technology for the prevention, mitigation, readiness and response, as well as recovery efforts of the government in times of calamities. Technological and inventions such as mobile command post, triaging trailer tent, collapsible toilet bowl, emergency disinfection system, fire blanket, unsinkable porta-boat, and water ambulance are some of the advancements that helped in the relief and rescue operations of the government. Let's listen to the speech of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Today we launched the Visayas leg of Handa Pilipinas to showcase the various disaster risk reduction and management initiatives of the government. This is done in collaboration with many stakeholders and partners since Super Typhoon Yolanda struck the country. And beyond that, also I see some technologies that have been developed during the COVID pandemic that hit the whole world in the recent years. But putting our experience at the heart of this event reminds us of the calamity that brought unimaginable destruction to the Visayas, to the Philippines. It serves as a poignant reminder of the power of nature and our vulnerability to that power. More importantly, it underscores the importance of disaster risk reduction and management in the Philippines. The Filipino spirit is incredible. It has been demonstrated during and in the aftermath of Yolanda and of COVID. Our ability to come together, to support one another, to rebuild during such adversity is always an inspiration. We therefore owe it to ourselves and to the future to learn from this experience and make sure that such devastation will be mitigated or somehow prevented, because we are now better prepared and we are now better adapted to the vagaries of very severe weather events. The government remains committed to advancing our country's disaster resilience, and of course, we must recognize the role of the Department of Science and Technology in this undertaking. The DOST has been instrumental in developing cutting-edge technologies for disaster risk prevention, the mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. I am confident that the technologies featured in this event, such as the mobile command post, the triaging trailer tent, the collapsible toilet bowl, upgraded emergency disinfection system, fire blankets, unsinkable portaboat, and water ambulance, amongst others, will be of great help during relief and rescue operations. The emergency food reserve as well, as the complementary food and food products are also good additions to our survival kits during calamities. So let us also remember that collaboration amongst governments, agencies, local governments, and the private sector and communities is the key to effective and successful disaster risk reduction and management. I was just having a quick discussion with Secretary Solidum, and that we were talking about this is the product of some very important research and development. And however, as the mayor has pointed out and the governor has pointed out, first of all, we wish we had all of this 10 years ago when after Yolanda struck. But now we have them here. And kung titignan natin ang mga teknolohiya na dala ng DOST ngayon na develop ng ating mga scientifico, ay talagang bagay na bagay para sa LGU. They are in a small scale, and they are directed for up to I can see some of this hanggang barangay health kit, pwede yan ipasok. Kaya sa akin, ang sinasabi ko kay Secretary Solidum, ay sinasabi ko sa kanya, dapat magpatulong tayo sa private sector dahil madali namang ipaliwanag na may ready market ang LGU, may ready market ang lahat ng mga produktong ito para sa ating mga LGU. Kaya kailangan pagpatuloy natin ang pagdevelop, hindi na yung teknolohiya, kung hindi ang pagpababa ng presyo ng ating mga produkto at pagparami para maging available sa lahat ng ating mga LGU para naman magamit pantulong sa tao kapag may pangangailangan. So, I implore everyone to maximize the use of these technologies to fast-track the widespread adoption and commercialization. Let us also promote public awareness so that every citizen becomes more proactive, better informed, better equipped in times of an emergency. Let us ensure that science and innovation continues to guide us in our endeavors. These are crucial to addressing the challenges in disaster risk reduction and staying ahead of the curve in disaster management. The world is rapidly changing. It is imperative that our ways and our strategies adapt and improve as well. So my fellow Filipinos, let us remember the lessons of the past, not with despair, but with the determination to learn and to change for the better, to be better prepared, to be better able to help our people. Let us unite and channel all our energies into building a safer, stronger, more resilient Philippines for ourselves and for future generations. Sa bagong Pilipinas na ating isinusulong, ang bawat Pilipino ay laging handa sa pagharap sa mga hamon ng buhay at sa pagtulong sa iba pang mga nangangailangan. Maraming salamat sa inyo at mabuhay po tayong lahat. Congratulations dito sa ating magandang naging teknolohiya na ibibigay sa ating mga LGU.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippines National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA board, on Thursday approved at least 3 high-impact infrastructure projects during its 11th meeting convened by President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. at Malacañang Palace in Manila. In a palace briefing, Socio-Economic Planning Secretary and NEDA Director General Arsenio Balisacan said the approved projects were the Department of Agrarian Reform or DAR's Pang-Agraryong Tulay para sa Bagong Bayanihan ng mga Magsasaka or PBBM Bridges project worth 28.2 billion pesos. The Phase 3 of the Maritime Safety Capability Improvement Project for the Philippine Coast Guard or PCG worth 29.3 billion pesos, and the revised parameters, terms and conditions or PTCs of the Tarlac-Pangasinan-La Union Expressway or TP-LEX Extension Project. Balisacan said the PBBM Bridges project aims to construct around 350 modular steel bridges with an estimated total length of 10,500 linear meters in an effort to enhance access and connectivity for agrarian reform communities. Let's listen to the statement of NEDA Director General Arsenio Balisacan.
I am pleased to announce that the National Economic and Development Authority Board, or NEDA Board, chaired by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., convened and approved 3 high-impact projects during its 11th meeting today. First, the NEDA Board approved the Pang-Agraryong Tulay para sa Bagong Bayanihan ng mga Magsasaka or PBBM Bridges project of the Department of Agrarian Reform. This project, with a total cost of 28.2 billion pesos, aims to construct 350 modular steel bridges with an estimated total length of 10,500 linear meters. These bridges will enhance access and connectivity for agrarian reform communities to improve the quality of life in rural areas. The approved project aims to increase the productivity and income of at least 350,000 households. The ease of mobility and access to and from the agrarian reform communities will generate more employment and address the community's need for better access to social services and market outlets for their agricultural products. Second, the NEDA Board approved Phase 3 of the Maritime Safety Capability Improvement Project for the Philippine Coast Guard. This project involves the design, construction, and delivery of 5 units of multi-role response vessels or MRRV, each with a length of 97 meters. This project also includes a 5-year integrated logistics support. This project will further improve the Philippine Coast Guard's capability to respond to threats and incidents within the country's maritime jurisdiction. In particular, the project will enable the Coast Guard to secure important sea lines of communication in the West Philippine Sea, Sulu, Celebes Seas, and the Philippine Sea. It will also help the Philippine Coast Guard combat illegal activities and enforce maritime laws in the Philippine waters. The total project cost is 29.3 billion pesos, which will be financed through an Official Development Assistance or ODA loan from the government of Japan. Third, the NEDA Board approved the revised parameters terms and conditions, or PTCs, of the Tarlac-Pangasinan-La Union Expressway or TPLEX Extension Project as recommended by the Investment Coordination Committee of the NEDA Board. These PTCs were negotiated between the Department of Public Works and Highways and the original proponent of the unsolicited PPP project. Following this approval, that DPWH will proceed with the publication of the invitation for comparative proposals in accordance with the revised 2022 Build, Operate, Transfer Law, implementing rules and regulations, as well as the ICC guidelines on processing PPP proposals. Approved in June this year, the TPLEX extension project involves a 59.4 kilometer toll road which will connect from the last exit of TPLEX in Rosario, La Union, and will terminate in San Juan, La Union. This is expected to stimulate economic activity, alleviate road congestion, provide better and safer road access, and promote the development of new growth centers in nearby regions. Lastly, let me share with you the progress of our infrastructure flagship projects, or IFPs, under the Build Better More program. As the lead monitoring agency for IFPs, NEDA reported that one of the 197 IFPs, specifically the Samar Pacific Coastal Road project by the Department of Public Works and Highways, has been completed. The 18.64 or 65 kilometer road project links the towns of Lawang, Kadubig, and Palapag by establishing a circumferential road around the entire Samar Island. The road is expected to enhance economic activity in the region by improving the delivery and movement of essential goods and services and creating more job opportunities. Additionally, there are currently 71 ongoing projects, 29 projects approved for implementation, 9 projects awaiting government approvals, 52 projects in the project preparation phase, and 35 projects in the pre-project preparation phase as of the third quarter of 2023. The Marcos administration remains steadfast in its dedication to enhancing connectivity, ramping up employment, creating investments, and significantly improving living standards for every Filipino by ensuring the efficient implementation of these high-impact projects. We will continue with our commitment to pursue important initiatives to ensure social and economic transformation towards a matatag, maginhawa at panatag na buhay.
NEDA Director General Arsenio Balisacan.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Friday welcomed President Jose Ramos Horta of the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste for his 4-day official state visit to the country at Malacañang Palace. Accompanied by the rest of his delegation, President Ramos Horta was accorded with arrival honors and signed the guest book before proceeding to a private meeting with the chief executive. In his opening statement at the bilateral meeting, President Marcos hoped that Ramos Horta's visit would lead to more exchanges between the two countries. Let's listen to the opening statement of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
I hope that these exchanges will be, this visit of yours will be the beginning of more exchanges between our two countries. And I thank you for the very gracious invitation that you have just extended to me to visit your country. And we would certainly want to do that to, as I said, continue to expand the relations between Timor-Leste and the Philippines. The Philippines has always been very supportive of not only the process of independence that East Timor went through, but also for your involvement in international relations and international events and issues that we feel are necessary for us to be able to come together and for us to be able to make a difference and to maintain the peace and the stability in our region, especially in these rather difficult times that we are facing. So I am very optimistic that your visit here today will be a very important start to developing that relationship and deepening that relationship between our two countries.
As part, the Timorese president extended his appreciation for the warm hospitality for him and his delegation. President Ramos Horta relayed how much similar Timor-Leste is with the Philippines, as both countries are predominantly populated by Catholics. He thanked the Philippines for their support in Timor-Leste's aspirations to join the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, and are working round the clock to fulfill the requirements of becoming a member. Let's listen to the joint statement of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and President Jose Ramos Horta of the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste after holding their bilateral meeting.
I am pleased to inform you and the Filipino people of the outcomes of the state visit of His Excellency President Jose Ramos Horta of the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste. This state visit aimed to revitalize bilateral relations between the Republic of the Philippines and the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste. The last high-level visit between our two countries was in 2013, when the former President, Sanana Gusmao, visited the Philippines. I am pleased that President Ramos Horta has accepted my invitation and is here with us in Manila today. He is a good friend of the Philippines, and I am happy to note that this visit of the President is not the first visit that he has made. It is one of many visits that he has made to the Philippines. And so he, as of today, we will adopt him as an honorary Filipino. Today, we took the opportunity to study our existing platforms of cooperations and of partnerships, as well as we discussed matters of great importance to both our nations, particularly in the fields of political cooperation and in people-to-people exchanges. The President and I committed to direct our respective ministries to further the negotiations in following fields: to reconvene the policy consultations that are hosted by Timor-Leste in the near future. There are many aspects to that consultation that will further the relations between our two countries. We should like to also explore the possibilities of having direct flights between our capitals through an air services agreement, and also establish a bilateral social security agreement to be a safety net for both our countries' professionals working in each other's country. To strengthen educational cooperation as well between our higher learning institutions and increase our student exchanges. In addition, as one of the democracies in Southeast Asia, the Philippines also committed to assist Timor-Leste in the skills formation of the Timorese people. In recent months, under the direction of our Technical Cooperation Council of the Philippines, an attached agency of the Department of Foreign Affairs, we have deployed a team from our Department of Science and Technology who assisted the Timorese people in enhancing skills on food processing. We committed to increase engagements in such technical cooperation, and we have tasked our respective ministries to explore and enhance future partnerships on this matter. I would also like I'm very happy to report that beyond the formalities of these exchanges, President Horta and I had a very productive and interesting discussion on the mechanisms and the modalities that we, with the experience of His Excellency in international affairs, the many suggestions and mechanisms that he brought to light that can be of use to the Philippines when it comes to the challenges that we are presently facing in the issues that are regarding the South China Sea, or as we refer to it, the West Philippine Sea. And this is that is why it is with gratitude that we also have received the expressions of support from the President for the Philippines in terms of the rules, our adherence to a rules-based international law, to UNCLOS, and of all of the different issues that we are facing, geopolitical issues that we are facing around the world. Once again, the experience of the President has shown what the Philippines can do to further our discussion and our argument as to the continued adherence of all parties to a rules-based system and international law. And for that, I thank him very much. And on a final note, I also take this opportunity to affirm the Philippines' support to Timor-Leste's membership bid in ASEAN. I recall that during the recent 42nd ASEAN Summit in Indonesia, we ASEAN leaders adopted the roadmap for Timor-Leste's full membership in ASEAN. We strive to pursue this work alongside our ASEAN brothers and sisters, and we look forward to seeing Timor-Leste's status in ASEAN be successfully elevated from an observer, as it is now, to a full member in the very near future. With that, thank you very much. Maraming salamat po.
Excellency, President, dear friend, first, my sincere gratitude for your warmest hospitality to me and to my delegation. With me here is Foreign Minister Benedito Freitas, and to thank you for the support you have provided us, given to us in our ASEAN membership application, and supporting capacity building as we endeavor to implement the roadmap in the shortest possible time. We have set for ourselves 2025 as ideal for us to join ASEAN, but obviously that's subject to agreement on the ASEAN country. This means only to force upon ourselves to work harder in implementing the roadmap. I've been to the Philippines numerous times over the years. Very impressed with the situation today of peace, of stability, investors' trust, confidence in the Philippines, great economic growth in a world situation that is not very conducive to economic growth, as we all know around the world. So Philippines, very unique. I would, listening to your statement, Mr. President, I would consider it now like a joint statement. I subscribe to everything Your Excellency stated, so I don't need to elaborate any further. Let's expand, upgrade the relationship between our two countries. We are newer, only 21 years since restoration of independence. Philippines is over 100 years, almost 200 million people with extraordinary rich experience. So we are guided by you, your, I wouldn't say fatherly sympathy because I'm older, older than you. So it'll be difficult to say father. I would say brotherly, fraternal support. For me, visiting Philippines is coming back to Philippines. I've been here many times, numerous friends across Philippines, not only in Manila, but everywhere and overseas. We have a Filipino community. The ambassador of Philippines is here with us. So you cannot have a more warmer, more productive, healthy relationship between two countries than the one enjoyed by Timor-Leste and the Philippines. All elements that Your Excellency referred to, yes, we are going to realize them. Timor-Leste today is completely at peace. We have zero political violence, zero ethnic-based or religious-based tensions or violence. Economically, prospects for great recovery and growth in the next few years. We have a new government, less than 6 months in office, working hard to implement its very ambitious program for the next 5 years. And I believe that there are plenty of room for Philippines to participate in supporting us in this, our endeavor to improve our economy and the living standards of the people. On human resources, on the students, continuing to come to Timor-Leste, training of our diplomats, our officials across the board, on the health sector, our medical doctors to come to Philippines for upgrading their knowledge, their understanding, etc. So there is no, we should be able to explore and implement all of this. I thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you.
You just heard the joint statement of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and President Jose Ramos Horta of the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, we would like to invite everyone to come and visit our Facebook page at Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You will be able to hear and view our Filipino and English programs, including news updates here in the Philippines. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang in Review. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo MAGPAYO. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.